Hey everyone, I'm Bradford with the Penny Pinter's Guide to Personal Finance. Our business just recently transitioned from a partnership to an LLC, so I wanted to share some of the lessons we learned along the way to help your LLC formation go smoother. Forming an LLC is a great way to operate your business with the liability protection of a corporation, but with the pass-through tax benefits of a partnership. Now I'm going to break down the 7 steps that you need to follow to set up your LLC. Now step 1 is going to be doing a little bit of research with your state's Secretary of State and understanding what are the specific filing requirements to be able to form an LLC in your state, as well as doing the research to see if the name that you want to operate your business under is actually available. Now, the good thing here is that most Secretary of State's websites are going to have some sort of online portal where you can type in the business name that you want to use, and it's going to give you results whether that name is currently in use by another business or if it's completely free and clear. Now, if you do see that another business is using that name, you don't have to go entirely back to the drawing board. You might be able to add or subtract or just kind of change the order of words in the name to still get the message out that you want to have to be associated with your business, but also not have any sort of conflict with other businesses that are operating in your state. That's gonna bring me to step 2, and that's once you've figured out what name you're gonna use, you need to decide whether are you gonna file all the paperwork to be registered in your state yourself, or are you gonna hire a business to be able to do all of that on your behalf. Now, kind of the breakdown in terms of which one you should decide is gonna be if money's really tight and you don't have a lot of capital when you're starting up your business, definitely take the time to do the research, even though each state is probably gonna have some sort of filing fee to set up your LLC in the first place. There's no getting around that. You don't wanna have to pay the extra money to hire out that service to somebody else if you can do it yourself. Now, on the flip side of that, if you're just trying to save time and you want to pass off that responsibility to another business, that way you're making sure you are in compliance with your state's policies, then hiring out is probably going to be a better option for you. It's really just going to depend on what are the specific needs of your business, how much time you have available, as well as what sort of capital you have when you're setting up your business in the first place. Now, step 3 is going to be picking a registered agent. So what the heck is a registered agent? According to LegalZoom, an LLC registered agent is an individual or entity which has been designated by the LLC to receive service of process notices, government correspondence, and compliance-related documents on behalf of the LLC. So in plain English, a registered agent is somebody that is going to basically be the point of contact between your LLC and the government. So if the government ever needs to send the pass some mail or do some sort of compliance notification with your business, that's going to go to the registered agent. If you have your LLC and it's formed in a state that you do not live in, the easiest option, you have to hire somebody else to be your registered agent. On the flip side, if you do operate the LLC in the same state that you live, you or another member of your LLC can be designated as the registered agent, but you might not want to. The reason behind this is because the registered agent is required to be available for notifications or correspondence with the government during all standard business hours, during every business day throughout the year. So if you want to go take a vacation Monday through Friday and you have yourself set up as a registered agent for your LLC, you could be putting yourself at risk with some sort of failure to comply with a government notification because you're not there to be able to actively respond to the government reaching out to you. And you could put yourself in a position where you could receive fines or fees because you're not being compliant with your state's requirements. So I do think generally in most instances, you're going to want to hire out the registered agent to some business that does it already, but you definitely have the option to choose yourself or another member of your LLC if you live in the same state that your LLC operates. Now, when it comes out to hiring it, you're typically going to be looking around $120 to $200 a year for the registered agent service. In terms of where do you actually look to find a registered agent, many of the same companies that do LLC formation or other sort of business entity formation services are also going to offer a registered agent service. Now, the top 2 businesses in terms of registered agent service that I would recommend you start out looking at first are going to be either Zen Business or Northwest Registered Agent. Those 2 have the best reviews in the industry, but again, that's just a place to start off with your research, and another company could definitely be a better fit for you and your specific circumstances. Now, step 4 is going to be submitting all your paperwork. Up until this point, you've decided what is your business name and verified it with the Secretary of State. You've decided how you're going to be submitting all of your LLC formation paperwork, and you've decided on who's going to be the registered agent for your business. At this point, you submit all your paperwork, and depending on the state that you live in, you could have a turnaround as quick as a few days, all the way up to several weeks, or even over a month, depending on the state that you live in and what sort of backlog the Secretary of State's office already has. And that's going to bring me to step 5, which is going to be getting your EIN. Now, once you have your LLC formation paperwork back from the state, that means you're good on the state side of things, but you still need to be good on the federal side of things. And that's where getting your EIN or your employer identification number from the IRS comes in. Now, we do have a video walking you through how to actually get your EIN, and I'm going to put that in the pinned comment down below. But the bottom line here is getting an EIN is easy, it's fast, and it's free. So please, whatever you do not pay a company to get an EIN on your behalf. In my instance, when we switched from a partnership to an LLC, we had to get a new EIN, and I'm not kidding you, it took me only 2 minutes to go through the IRS's requirements, and then I had my actual EIN paperwork in a PDF in less than 5 minutes from what it took to actually submit it to it be generated. So please, don't pay somebody for it. Walk through the process and do it yourself. And step 6 is going to be getting your business banking account set up. Now, the requirements for this is you're going to need the EIN from the federal side, as well as the LLC formation paperwork on the state side. And the last document that most banks are probably going to require you to have is going to be some sort of operating agreement that you've set up either for yourself, and especially if you're in a multi-member LLC, as how's the business going to be run, what sort of meetings are you going to be required to have, if somebody dies or decides to sell their share, how is that process actually going to work moving forward. Now, this process is probably one of the most important processes, which is because you need to have your money, that's your personal money, and your business assets be completely separated. If you commingle your assets at all, even just a little bit, you are setting yourself up for failure by completely undermining the entire reason you have an LLC in the first place, and that is for the liability protection. If you commingle your assets, if somebody decides to sue you, any good lawyer is going to be able to identify that you commingled those assets, and they're going to be able to do what is known as piercing the corporate veil, and they're going to be able to go around the LLC's assets and go directly for your personal assets because you're effectively lumping them all together because you commingled your assets in the first place. So please make sure you keep everything separated by setting up a business banking account as soon as you have all the required paperwork. And that's going to bring me to step 7, which is going to be my favorite. And that's going to be you start making money with your new LLC in the state that you set it up. And at this point, you're going to start generating profit after profit after profit, which is a bit of a double-edged sword because now you do have to worry about business taxes, which are a lot more complicated than your just regular 1040, which is why we put together this playlist right here to help you understand what sort of differences there are going to be in place and what sort of documentation you need to actually fill out now that you're operating your business. I want to thank you for joining me today. And please remember, from your first penny to your first million, we're here to help.